I told you before, unauthorized vehicles are not permitted past this barrier. You are trespassing, sir.
At 7:18 a.m. on May 12, 2024, I watched two HOA guys drag orange cones across my mansion driveway like they were closing a runway, and the security booth at the gate flicked its lights at me like I was a stranger. The air still smelled like wet grass and fresh mulch from the landscapers I'd paid to start that morning. A metal chain clinked as they looped it across the entrance, and the sound felt way too confident. My coffee was steaming in my cup holder, and I swear it tasted like stress. One of them held up a laminated notice and said, "Sorry, we were told you can't enter." I stepped out, still in slippers, and the woman in the navy blazer marched up like she owned the sunrise. That's when I realized this fight had a name. Karen blocked my mansion over title search using notarized statement, and their fine reversed was final. She waved her clipboard like a judge's hammer and said my home was under a title dispute and the HOA was protecting the community. I blinked at her like she'd spoken in riddles. This is my house. It's deeded to me. Not shared. I asked who told her there was a dispute. She didn't answer that. She just pointed at my driveway and told the gate guard to keep it shut. I tried to talk like an adult, even though my driveway had been turned into a crime scene for no reason. I said, "I can show you my closing papers right now. My title company is on speed dial." The board rep behind her avoided my eyes like they were hot. Two neighbors walked their dogs across the street and pretended the clouds were fascinating. I asked for an emergency hearing. The chair smiled and said, "Our next meeting is in 3 weeks." She handed me a fine notice for $900 for unauthorized occupancy risk, like she invented the phrase at breakfast. I said, "You can't block a homeowner because you feel like it." She said, "Watch me." On May 12 at 9:00 a.m., I called the HOA management company, then the HOA lawyer line, then the board email, and I got nothing but cheerful voicemail voices. So I drove downtown to my title company's office, still smelling like coffee and anger. The closer printed my settlement statement, deed record info, and the title insurance policy, then looked me dead in the face and said, "Your title is clean. No liens. No disputes." She even called the county recorder while I sat there, tapping my foot like a cartoon. When I got back home, the cones were still there, and the gate guard acted like I was asking to enter a museum. That's when I drew my line. I'll stay lawful, but I will not stay quiet. That night, I went full organized mode. I didn't post rants. I didn't threaten anybody. I built a case. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I printed the fine notice, the gate denial email the guard finally sent me, and the HOA rule page they claimed gave them this power. I logged every time my contractors had to turn around. I counted it: 4 deliveries blocked, 2 service calls cancelled, and 1 moving truck sitting outside the gate for 40 minutes while the driver stared at me like I was running a scam. I wasn't. I was just living in a neighborhood where one person thought paperwork was a weapon. On May 13, 2024, I went to the county recorder's clerk counter and asked for everything tied to my lot and the HOA's declaration. The clerk slid me a stamped packet with that heavy official smell, like old paper in toner. The file landed with 74 pages, including the recorded plat, the HOA boundaries, and a very boring paragraph that turned out to be my shield. My lot was technically a separate parcel that opted into certain services but was not subject to the HOA's gate access restrictions. It was right there, stamped years ago. I could have kissed that page. Instead, I asked for certified copies and paid the fee with a smile that probably looked unhinged. I wrote the timeline like I was building a bridge. Timeline item 1 May 12 at 7:18 a.m. driveway blocked with cones and chain at gate. I added timestamps, emails, and names without being dramatic. Then I made one call that changed everything. I contacted the state HOA dispute office and filed a formal complaint with attachments. I also sent a calm letter to the HOA attorney requesting an immediate stop to interference and a hearing date within 10 business days. I ended it with one simple line: patterns of false reports can be prosecuted. Because their title dispute claim wasn't just rude. It was potentially a false report used to punish a homeowner. Here's the twist they didn't see coming. The HOA president kept saying, "Our title search shows you're not allowed access until you sign our statement." That statement was a one-page acknowledgement saying I accepted a private road easement fee forever and waived my right to challenge fines. Cute. So I did a real title search through my title company, and I asked the closing attorney for something stronger than my opinion. On May 15, 2024, the attorney drafted a notarized statement confirming my deed status, the recorded boundary language, and that the HOA had no authority to restrict access to my parcel. It wasn't a threat. It was a fact, signed and sealed, with a notary stamp like a little crown. By May 16, the neighborhood buzzed without me even trying. The group chat started with someone saying, "Why are there cones at that big house?" Then it turned into a storm. I saw screenshots later. Is the HOA blocking him from his own driveway? That can't be legal. I heard she's mad because he didn't sign her new fee paper. Someone typed, "My cousin is a realtor and this sounds insane." Another neighbor wrote, "I watched the moving truck get turned away, this is ugly." A guy down the street said, "If they can do that to him, they can do it to anyone." People started standing near the gate like it was a show, arms crossed, phones out but low, like they didn't want to be obvious. Even the quiet older couple finally said out loud, "This has gone too far." The authority flip hit fast, and it didn't come from the people the chair could charm at a clubhouse meeting. On May 20, 2024, a state HOA compliance officer scheduled a remote conference, and the HOA had to attend with their manager and attorney. I sent my binder pages ahead of time, certified county records, the title company confirmation, and the notarized statement. The officer explained, in plain words, that an HOA cannot invent title disputes to block an owner's access, and any fines based on that interference can be invalid. She noted the recorded documents matter more than an internal search. She asked the HOA attorney to cite the exact covenant section that allowed them to chain off my driveway. He couldn't. She also pointed out that forcing a homeowner to sign a waiver under pressure can look like coercion, and regulators don't love that. Right after the officer spoke, you could feel the air change, even through a phone speaker. The board members stopped interrupting and started listening like students who just got caught cheating. The HOA president's voice went tight and quiet, like she was suddenly aware of her own volume. Neighbors who were in the call as witnesses sat straighter, you could hear chairs scoot and keyboards click as people took notes. Phones started recording openly now, not sneaky. The bully energy that used to fill every gap just didn't have room anymore. Every time the compliance officer referenced the certified pages, it was like she was pulling oxygen out of the chair's plan. The "we were protecting the community" line stopped working the second official words like "recorded in jurisdiction" entered the chat. On May 22, 2024, the decision arrived by email, simple and brutal. The fine was reversed in full, final, and marked non-collectible. The HOA was ordered to restore access immediately and stop any enforcement actions against my parcel unless they went through proper legal steps, which they clearly didn't have. The compliance officer listed the evidence she relied on, including the notarized statement in the certified county pages, and she warned the HOA about retaliation. That same afternoon, the cones disappeared, the chain vanished, and the gate guard lifted the barrier with a polite nod like he'd been released from a spell. My contractors pulled in like a parade, and I stood there breathing in the smell of cut stone and fresh paint like it was victory. The aftermath wasn't loud. It was quiet in a way that felt new. People started saving HOA emails instead of deleting them. Neighbors began showing up to meetings with folders, not just complaints. The couple who used to avoid eye contact waved from their porch and asked if I needed anything. A dad walked over and said, "I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. It's just, she's been scary for years." That's when it hit me, it wasn't just my driveway that had been blocked. It was everyone's courage. Over the next month, I saw more phones out during board announcements, more questions asked, and fewer nervous laughs. The chair wasn't the center of the universe anymore. She was just a person with a clipboard and less power than she thought. On June 3, 2024, I sat at my kitchen island with my binder closed, listening to the soft hum of my new air system and the distant sound of a lawn crew that was finally allowed to work. The mansion looked the same from the outside, but the neighborhood felt different, like the lights came on in a room nobody realized was dim. I didn't win by shouting. I won by bringing certified pages, calm emails, and one notarized statement that couldn't be waved away. And the best part is this: the fine reversal was final, and so was my decision to never let fear run my street again. If you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe, and share. Was the HOA wrong? Drop a comment.